Tonight, the U.S. president tries to signal a shift in his immigration crackdown in Minnesota.
We're going to de-escalate a little bit.
But then blamed a man killed by federal agents for legally carrying a gun. The new details about his killing and who opened fire. The Prime Minister stands by his blunt speech after the U.S. claimed Carney walked it back.
I meant what I said in Davos.
The very different accounts of the latest Trump-Carney call. The push for separatism in Alberta.
We're not being treated fairly.
The high bar to force a referendum.
From CBC News, this is The National with Chief Correspondent Adrian Arsenault.
Thanks for joining us. After weeks of clashes and the death of 2 Americans at the hands of federal agents tonight, there are signs the U.S. president is ready to pull back on his immigration crackdown in Minnesota. Donald Trump's new pick to oversee the ICE operation in the state has landed. Talks have already begun with Democratic officials. The move aimed at bringing some semblance of calm to a state that has erupted in protests on a near-nightly basis. All of this as new details emerge about the death of Alex Preddy, which, as Katie Simpson shows us, is adding fuel to the fire that's seemingly forcing Trump's hand.
Mourners step aside to let state investigators re-examine the site where Alex Preddy was fatally shot by federal agents. The U.S. president saying he wants an honest investigation as he signals he wants tensions here eased.
We have Tom Homan there now. We put him in there. He's great. And they met with the governor, the mayor, everybody else, and we're going to de-escalate a little bit.
Donald Trump also criticized Preddy for being armed in public, even though he had a permit.
I don't like the fact that he was carrying a gun that was fully loaded, and he had 2 magazines with him, and it's pretty unusual.
While there has been a promised partial pullback of agents, current operations continue to draw backlash.
Your unlawful conduct and threat to public safety. I hereby declare this an unlawful assembly.
With demonstrators making noise outside a hotel Monday night, where authorities have been staying.
Protesters here have just been given another warning to leave this area, or else they could be met with less than lethal force or tear gas.
Can you get that light out of our eyes so we can see?
And when those demonstrators held their ground,
Who are you protecting? Who?
officers moved in.
What are you doing?
3 young protesters pinned to the frozen ground and placed under arrest.
Somebody please call my dad!
The chaos now a familiar expression of anger. Just as familiar as the public displays of grief. Trump's pledge to de-escalate is met with skepticism here.
They think that they've moved the bar so far into human harm that simply stopping murdering us is a victory. That's baloney.
And the fear of immigration raids remains very real.
I just had a funeral a couple of days ago, and we had to do a really quick funeral because everybody was scared of ICE, because of who we are, because of our skin color.
Amid the concern and heartbreak, the mourning of Alex Preddy and Renee Good, the U.S. president offered these words.
Bottom line, it was terrible. Both of them were terrible. The other was terrible, too. And I'm not sure about his parents, but I know her parents were big Trump fans. Makes me feel bad anyway.
We are now learning 2 federal agents fired guns during the fatal altercation with Alex Preddy. The details provided to lawmakers in a report to Congress, which makes no mention of Preddy brandishing his gun.
And Katie, the Trump administration appears to be walking back its initial defense of the agents involved in Preddy's shooting, right?
Yeah, Stephen Miller, a top White House advisor, saying in a statement that investigators are looking into possible protocol breaches by those federal agents in the lead up to the shooting. An admission of even possible wrongdoing is dramatically different from what Miller initially said when he said without evidence that Preddy was a would-be assassin.
All right, Katie Simpson in Minneapolis again tonight. And tonight, an investigation is underway after Minnesota member of Congress Ilhan Omar was attacked while hosting a town hall meeting in Minneapolis. So that video shows a man rushing the podium after Omar called for ICE to be abolished, then spraying her with an unknown substance. That individual was tackled to the ground seconds later. Reports out of the U.S. say Omar was not injured, and it's not yet clear if charges have been laid. Now, one of the richest people in Canada is being criticized tonight for a potential business deal with ICE. BC's Jim Pattison appears to be on the verge of selling a U.S. property to the federal agency. Yasmin Renea shows us the outrage that has sparked.
This giant Virginia warehouse owned by Canadian billionaire Jim Pattison could become an immigration and customs enforcement facility. In a letter to county officials, the Department of Homeland Security says it wants to buy the property in support of ICE operations, adding it may build holding and processing spaces and a guard shack.
Folks don't want to live next to a pseudo prison of sorts.
Pattison, one of Canada's richest people, owns dozens of businesses, from car dealerships to grocery chain Save On Foods. His company's real estate division bought the Virginia site in 2022 for about $7.6 million US. But now the county estimates its value could jump to roughly $50 million after improvements.
I think it's the kind of thing that companies need to think through pretty carefully.
Other Canadian companies have been criticized for doing business with ICE, including Ontario armored vehicle manufacturer Rochelle and BC tech firm Hootsuite, which, according to the Globe and Mail, is offering social media management services to the agency. It's all legal, but amid Donald Trump's immigration crackdown could tank public opinion, say ethics experts.
If I were a CEO, I wouldn't want my name or my company's name, my brand, associated with what's going on in the States right now.
The leader of the BC Green Party now calling for a boycott of Pattison businesses.
I think as Canadians, we need to be crystal clear about who is driving, who's contributing to the crises we're facing, and how we can step up and take real actions.
BC's Attorney General is also urging Canadian companies to act carefully.
To make decisions that would not lead to some of the outcomes that we're seeing unfold in the States.
In a late statement, Jim Pattison Development says it listed the property for sale publicly and only became aware of the owner and their intentions with the building after the sale was accepted. While acknowledging how heated this issue has become, it wouldn't comment further on the sale. Yasmin Renea, CBC News, Vancouver.
Now, ICE is even sparking anger in Italy over news that its agents will be helping with security at the Milano Cortina Games. So that is Italy's center-left Democratic Party showing its opposition. The mayor of Milan called ICE a militia that kills. But the foreign minister said ICE agents would not be deployed on Italian streets. They will advise Italian agencies on counterterrorism measures and help with vetting. Well, sections of Canada's busiest highway were closed today after a series of crashes involving about 50 vehicles in eastern Ontario. So this happened on a stretch of Highway 401 during snow squalls. No one was seriously hurt. Take a look at the aftermath. Police say one of the trucks involved was carrying spinach. And Toronto's mayor says crews are still plowing roads due to blowing snow, but cleanup from Sunday's record storm is now into its second phase, that's snow removal.
They are doing it around the hospitals. And over the next few days, this will expand, starting tomorrow, citywide. Crews will be going street by street.
So she says that should make it easier to get around the city. Toronto saw its largest snowfall in a single day on Sunday, with 56 centimeters downtown and 46 centimeters at Pearson Airport, where the snow has now been fully cleared. And that is Newfoundland getting a taste of the weather system that blasted other provinces. Many schools closed for the day. Environment Canada forecasted snowfall could reach 5 centimeters per hour. Other Atlantic provinces are still digging out too. Well, Mark Carney is denying that during a phone call with Donald Trump, he backed down from his bold speech at Davos. Ashley Burke shows us how that accusation from Trump's cabinet has led to calls for more transparency from the Prime Minister.
The Prime Minister offering his side of the story about a phone call with Donald Trump.
To be absolutely clear, and I said this to the President, I meant what I said in Davos.
But the U.S. president's Treasury Secretary went on Fox News Monday night saying Mark Carney had walked back comments from Davos.
I was in the Oval with the president today. He spoke to Prime Minister Carney, who was very aggressively walking back some of the unfortunate remarks he made at Davos.
Nostalgia is not a strategy.
Carney made headlines around the world with his Davos speech. He didn't name Trump, but his message was clear.
Great powers have begun using economic integration as weapons. Tariffs as leverage. Financial infrastructure as coercion.
Trump fired back in his own address.
Canada lives because of the United States. Remember that, Mark, the next time you make your statements.
But the prime minister insists he stood by his speech when Trump called him on Monday.
So you didn't walk back your comments?
No.
The Prime Minister needs to be a lot more forthright.
The Conservatives are demanding more clarity.
The solution to this is for the Prime Minister's office to put things in writing, as past Prime Ministers have done when conversations take place between world leaders, to formally put it in the form of a readout so that everybody understands what took place during that conversation.
The Prime Minister's office suggested this call with the president was informal, but Carney himself described it as a good conversation that included a range of issues from Venezuela to Ukraine and lasted half an hour. Despite that, Canadians first learned about it on American television. Ashley Burke, CBC News, Ottawa.
Nearly half of the members of the Federal Women's Veterans Council have resigned in protest. The council was created by the Trudeau government to improve conditions for women in the military. But as Kayla Hounsell explains, now some members say they are hitting a brick wall.
Jessica Miller served her country for 22 years as a medic in the Canadian Armed Forces. She then felt compelled to volunteer with a group created by the federal government to help deal with gender inequity in the military.
It was a very toxic environment at times.
Now, nearly half of the 12-member Women Veterans Council have resigned in protest.
5 of us Canadian Forces women veterans have stepped down due to the inability to make any change, any transparency in the government, the frustration of not knowing why we're on this committee and what we're doing, being gaslit.
In an open letter, they say they did not have a clear mandate, credible mechanisms to engage with women veterans, opportunities to influence decisions, or dedicated resources.
When women joined the forces.
In 2024, the Standing Committee on Veterans Affairs released a report that found female veterans remained largely invisible and their specific needs often neglected by the Canadian Armed Forces and Veterans Affairs Canada. The Trudeau government said it would respond to all 42 recommendations, including creating the Women Veterans Council. Miller says things began to change with the new government.
We asked the minister directly, are these recommendations, the 42 recommendations, are we still working on these? Because we haven't gained any ground here at all.
We also tried to talk to the minister about this.
Ms. McKnight, what about the Women's Veteran Council?
It's pretty ironic when the very council that's put in charge of ensuring that there's action is now saying we're being treated like pawns here.
Why are you listening
Come
to
back
that,
and
Minister?
talk to us, Minister. Come on.
The minister did provide a statement saying, as a voluntary advisory group, we respect the decision of any member who chooses to move on to other opportunities and continue to welcome their advocacy.
I had to change my morals and values in order to be on the council, essentially.
Miller is vowing to continue to fight for women veterans in other ways. Kayla Hounsell, CBC News, Sweets Corner, Nova Scotia.
Thousands of Albertans are adding their names to a petition calling for a referendum on whether Alberta should leave Canada. Julia Wong spoke with some about why they want to separate and what could happen next.
Here, allegiances are clear. These Albertans want to separate from Canada.
We're not being treated fairly. And the only way we're going to make a change is by demanding basically our independence.
Hundreds filed into an Edmonton hotel to sign a petition in hopes of triggering a referendum over Alberta independence.
I'm kind of tired to see the Easterner basically having the pleasure of shitting on Alberta, blocking everything that we want to do.
If they
took us seriously, if they actually took off the caps, took away the red tape, enough of the promises for opening up oil, letting Alberta prosper.
Over the last few weeks, thousands have flocked to similar events across the province. Organizers need to collect close to 178,000 signatures.
You know, I'm confident we're going to get it done. Like, we're well on our way to the 1 million signature goal that we set for this campaign.
But polls show only between 20 to 30% of Albertans are in favor of separating. The vast majority of Albertans want to stay in Canada. But that hasn't stopped the U.S. Treasury Secretary from weighing in.
They have great resources. The Albertans are very independent people. People are talking, people want sovereignty. They want what the U.S. has got.
We have an administration that is invested in weakening Canada, it seems, and that sees Alberta as, you know, potentially an object for expansion. And so I think there's a lot of room for potential mischief here.
But people we spoke to, when asked if they want to join the U.S.,
Absolutely not. I feel that Alberta have everything to be a country. We don't need to join the States.
petition organizers have until May to collect the needed signatures. If they reach their goal, a referendum could take place in Alberta this year. Julia Wong, CBC News, Edmonton.
A school on a Manitoba First Nation that serves nearly 400 students has been destroyed after an early morning fire. So as flames tore through the building, nearby residents were urged to stay in their homes. The school is located in Barons River. That's about 275 kilometers north of Winnipeg. Officials say nobody was inside at the time. The cause is still unknown. Well, the United States will hold multi-day military exercises in the Middle East. American warships are in the region after Trump threatened intervention over Iran's deadly crackdown on protesters. The exact death toll is hard to verify, but disturbing videos of mass casualties are slowly being made public. Senior international correspondent Margaret Evans begins with one that some may find very hard to watch.
A picture blurred by weeks of Iran's internet shutdown is gaining horrifying focus as people use short breaches in the blackout to send messages abroad. Patterns forming. One, that security forces are pulling injured protesters out of hospitals and targeting medics helping them. Some injured people who had improved were taken by the Revolutionary Guard intelligence, says this man from northern Iran in a voice message. We're protecting his identity.
We all traumatized.
This Canadian surgeon is hearing similar reports from colleagues in Iran that a nurse he used to work with was killed.
Shot in his head because he did not follow order that he's not allowed to help injured people. Simple.
One human rights group outside Iran has confirmed over 6,000 deaths and is investigating reports of another 17,000. A German doctor compiling information from doctors inside Iran believes the number is even higher. The Iranian regime admits just over 3,000 deaths, blaming outside agitators. This doctor told a pro-regime TV channel that his hospital alone treated 1,000 patients for serious eye injuries over a 24-hour period. Former war crimes prosecutor Canadian Payam Akavan says the world must try to bear witness.
To put the regime on notice also that although they may be in power today, they may not be in power tomorrow, and one day they will be brought to justice.
The United States has now moved a naval strike force into the region, including the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier. What's not clear is whether U.S. President Donald Trump plans to revisit his earlier pledge to intervene. Margaret Evans, CBC News, London.
Canada's largest school board is increasing Holocaust education for younger students.
Unfortunately, a lot of Holocaust survivors are no longer around.
The calls to help combat rising antisemitism. Researchers are trying to close healthcare gaps for Black Canadians.
We're planning to study the genomes of more than 10,000 Canadians of African ancestry.
What the new project aims to uncover. Plus, loyal Raptors fans get a once-in-a-lifetime invite.
Everyone was elated.
They're partying with the team in our moment. We're back in 2. So you are looking at the Sicilian hilltop town of Nishemi in near collapse. A landslide left homes teetering, and authorities caution it is still active. A violent cyclone slammed the island last week, triggering a state of emergency. 1,500 people have been forced to evacuate, with some relocated permanently. Well, there is a new study that aims to determine why Black Canadians are especially vulnerable to some chronic diseases. As Jennifer LaGrassa shows us, they have long been ignored by researchers and may need some coaxing to take part.
For decades, scientists have been mapping out our genes, but they don't have a clear picture for everyone. Globally, people of African ancestry only make up about 2% of samples in all DNA banks.
We're really, really thrilled that this is happening.
Now, Canadian researchers are trying to change that.
We're planning to study the genomes of more than 10,000 Canadians of African ancestry.
Researchers in Ontario, Quebec, and Nova Scotia will collect thousands of blood samples from adult Black Canadians, specifically from those who have triple-negative breast cancer, type 2 diabetes, or high blood pressure, as well as those with no underlying medical conditions.
It might help us to better understand why certain people get these disorders, why some get it more severe than others, and in fact might even help us to better design treatments that are more targeted.
The challenge? Getting people to participate.
If we're not there, we will not be counted, we will not be involved in finding solutions.
A long history of discrimination has created mistrust between many Black people and medical institutions. This Toronto clinic sees it firsthand.
And we have to start building the trust, but it will not happen overnight.
Researchers with the project say their priority is to make sure participants are at the table and know their information will be securely stored.
We'll check your vitals.
Alfred Lugg is pre-diabetic. He says he wants to take part in the research, knowing information is power.
We'll know what's going on in the neighborhood, and you will know what's going on with your culture.
Experts are eager to see this expand nationally, knowing that the research could transform healthcare for Black Canadians. Jennifer LaGrassa, CBC News, Toronto.
A change at the world's largest genealogy website has police speaking out.
This was basically like a one-stop shop to get the information that we needed.
Why cracking cold cases could now be much harder. And a Canadian injured on the front line in Ukraine shares his story.
I wish I could say, peace could happen tomorrow, this afternoon.
His experience fighting against Russia and his call for allies to do more. The National breaks down the stories shaping our world. Next.
Today we acknowledge that looking away is not a passive act, but an act of betrayal.
Sharp words from the Prime Minister today at a ceremony marking International Holocaust Remembrance Day. Mark Carney calls Canada complicit in the murder of millions of Jewish people because it stayed silent. Opposition leader Pierre Poilievre also spoke at the event denouncing the recent rise in antisemitism. He urged Canadians to stand up for the right of Jews to live safely and peacefully. Well, Canada's largest school board is also marking International Holocaust Remembrance Day. And as Deanna Sumnak-Johnson tells us, they're using education to combat rising antisemitism.
Now, this book tells the harrowing journey.
A class trip to make the Holocaust more than just a history lesson. These grade 6 students are learning about the MS St. Louis, a ship carrying European Jews fleeing the Nazis. Canada turned it away in 1939. Now they're meeting the descendants of one passenger.
It's really about real people, and we need more stories like that today. And unfortunately, a lot of Holocaust survivors are no longer around.
This teacher says it's important to make these lessons stick.
I think one thing over my tenure of teaching, we're getting further and further away from these events, and yet they're closer and closer and closer to what's happening in the world.
Denial or distortion of the Holocaust is rising alongside anti-Semitism. A recent survey on anti-Semitism in Ontario schools commissioned by the federal government revealed that 40% of the incidents reported involved Nazi salutes, assertions that Hitler should have finished the job, and the like. Experts say that's why learning about the Holocaust early is key.
It's important for students to learn through that history how they can be responsible citizens and what they do when they see hateful things. And to also be able to wade through all the misinformation online.
These middle school students say the Holocaust education event left an impact on them.
I don't know how to describe it, but you kind of understand it more, and it feels a lot more like it actually happened.
Through the book, I learned what the Holocaust was, concentration camps, things like that.
It was very interesting to see Lisa's family and all the artifacts.
Critical thinking and empathy that can be a powerful antidote to anti-Semitic rhetoric online or in real life. Deanna Sumanak-Johnson, CBC News, Toronto.
Now it's time to dig deeper into the stories shaping our world. An up-close look at the defense of Ukraine from a Canadian who fought on the front line.
I wish I could say, peace could happen tomorrow, this afternoon.
From suburban Edmonton to war casualty. But first, police lose easy access to a revolutionary cold case tool.
At Ancestry, privacy is always our top priority.
Ancestry.com says the world's largest source of genealogical data is now available only with a warrant or court order. Police and many victims' families see these recent changes as a setback. Jonathan Gatehouse spoke with both and shows why.
Solving cold case murders has always been a tough task, but it's suddenly become much harder, with the world's biggest genealogy website now banning searches by police, hampering efforts to track down killers via their family trees started from tiny snippets of DNA.
The body of Toronto native Aaron Gilmore was transferred by police to the city morgue this morning. The blonde part-time model was found by a friend about 9:30 last night, tied up in her bed and stabbed in the back.
On the inscription is 14,219, and that is the number of days between when Aaron was murdered and when Sutherland was arrested.
Sean McCowan's bracelet is a constant reminder of what it took to catch his sister's killer.
For me and our family, we had carried this around for almost 40 years basically, and waiting for an answer, and always wondering who the person was and why it happened, and all those questions, and these sort of can sort of go in dark circles about and sort of try to rabbit hole about a little bit.
Aaron Gilmore was sexually assaulted and murdered in December 1983. 17 years later, DNA technology allowed police to connect the crime with another murder, the death of Susan Tice in August 1983. Tests showed the same man killed both women, but police still didn't know his identity.
He was not in our boxes, as they say.
An arrest finally came in the fall of 2022 after new advanced DNA tests and almost 3 years of painstaking investigative work focusing on genetic genealogy. Joseph George Sutherland pleaded guilty to both murders and is now serving a life sentence.
It changed the outcome of the rest of my life, basically. It ended the search. It ended a lot of unknown questions for me. It ended a lot of pain. It sort of resolved a lot of trauma, I guess, knowing that someone is paying for what they did.
Here's how police cracked the case. Standard crime DNA testing maps out 22 marker genes. Think of it as a human barcode. However, it only works if investigators can match the sample up with a profile that's already in their databanks. Tracking down a killer without a prior serious conviction requires a much deeper dive. A specialized and expensive test performed by a lab in the United States can extract more detail from the original samples. Genetic markers like hair color, eye color, skin color, and most importantly, ancestry. Results are then compared to other DNA profiles that people have willingly uploaded onto the internet, with the hope of finding enough common pieces to reveal distant family relationships.
And eventually, we're able to build back in time to show our most recent common ancestors, and then down towards our offender.
In the case of Aaron Gilmore and Susan Tice, genetic genealogy uncovered what turned out to be a third cousin of the killer. But mapping out that relation required police to unravel a web of almost 8,000 people. It took 2 years just to get to the great-grandparents. Genetic genealogy has become invaluable to police forces, helping to solve more than 1,400 cold cases in the past 8 years, according to a New York Times tally. Yet there are questions about how and when police are using this tool, and its potential impact on the privacy rights of people who may simply be a distant relation to a suspect.
Genetic information I have.
Yan Joly is a leading voice in bioethics at McGill University.
Don't forget that genetic genealogy can be used to track down serious criminal, but it can also be used for plenty of other identification purposes. So it's a bit of a slippery slope here that we have to be careful about. There's a lot of the specific details and commitment that the police needs to make to do this right. What are the stakes? What are the safeguards that the police has adopted?
At Ancestry, privacy is always our top priority.
As the world's largest source of public genealogical data like birth, death, and marriage records, Ancestry.com has been the go-to website for mapping out family trees. But the company recently updated its terms of service, explicitly barring police from accessing its database without obtaining a court order. CBC News asked Ancestry.com about the company's concerns over police access. A spokesperson declined our interview request, pointing to their recent blog post. It says that Ancestry has a responsibility to make sure that the site is used for what it was created for, family history research.
This was basically like a one-stop shop to get the information that we needed.
Acting Detective Sergeant Steve Smith heads the Toronto Police Cold Case Unit. He says Ancestry's ban is a setback.
It's not going to stop us from solving the cases, it's just going to slow us down from solving these cases. That's all. We'll still get there in the end. It's just, the efficiency of time.
And in some cases, time is the difference between having a live suspect and a dead suspect, right?
Correct, as well as live family members and deceased family members too. The quicker that we can get these solved, the better it is for everybody.
The motivation behind Ancestry's ban isn't entirely clear. And the explanation they're providing doesn't sit well with Sean McCowan.
I think it's absolutely horrible, and I'm hopeful that something will change in and around this, because I can't imagine another family having to wait 40 years.
A wish stemming from his own experience and the knowledge that time may not heal wounds, but a conviction certainly helps.
So, Jonathan, I get the police say it's now going to take them longer to crack some of these cases. Can you put some perspective on that timeline?
Sure. I mean, it's hard to say, right? Each case is different, but Detective Sergeant Smith told us that information that's available with a single search on Ancestry might now take them 10 or 12 or 15 searches. So if you're trying to sift through thousands of possible relations to a killer, I mean, that could take a lot longer. And then there's the price, right? I mean, these are expensive investigations. These DNA tests alone cost $10,000 each. So anything that draws down on the budgets and the resources, ultimately that means that police can tackle fewer cases and probably solve fewer cases.
Okay, we will keep an eye on this. Jonathan Gatehouse, thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up, a Canadian who defended Ukraine on the front lines has a message for European leaders.
They can't count on the U.S. to solve problems in Europe. They're going to have to step up and sacrifice and do it.
A very personal view of international politics and U.S. foreign policy. That is next. From an Edmonton suburb to the front line of war, a Canadian comes under fire in western Ukraine.
He mistook me for a Russian and shot me once in the head and once in the arm.
Wearing the scars of battle, David Rouser's resolve still unwavering. A new assessment from a U.S. think tank puts the war's total military casualties, killed, wounded, or missing, at nearly 2 million. Rouser, who still needs one more surgery, is just one. But while waiting to return to Canada, he shared his wartime thoughts and experiences with Briar Stewart.
This is what Canadian David Rouser saw as he approached a Russian bunker in Ukraine's embattled Donetsk region last fall.
It was on November 10th, 2025. I believe it was the second or third day of a mission.
He was sent to clear the area with a small team. It was completely quiet as he stood outside the entrance. He shouts out in Russian, "Hands up," and opens fire. But in the chaos, he too became a target.
What the f are you doing? Is he dead?
Yeah. One of the guys in my team, he was new to the team, and I don't know why, but he mistook me for a Russian and shot me once in the head and once in the arm. My second in command came in behind me, and he saw that I was being shot by one of my own guys, and he stopped it. I can't see nothing.
He was shot in the head and in the arm. Unable to see, he almost walked back into the bunker.
My Lord. I can't see much.
Before his team grabbed him and tried to control the bleeding.
Oh, I'm so sorry, bro. I'm so sorry. Please don't die. Oh, please don't die.
That was just over 3 months ago.
So I'm missing a piece of my skull right here. It's a little scary.
He takes off his shirt to show us the scar from where he was hit in the arm.
This was a big hole. This was a small hole. And this one they sewed up twice.
Rouser spent several months patrolling the forests in eastern Ukraine alongside members of the 63rd Brigade. Most were Ukrainian, but there were other foreign fighters as well. Rouser had no combat experience, but a deep connection to the region. As a child, he spent several years in Ukraine and Russia, where his father did missionary work. When we spoke to him, he told us that he moved back to Canada as a teen and settled in Alberta.
And in 2022, when the full-scale invasion happened, for me, it was like 3 or 4 just sleepless nights. Like I was just focused on the news, and I was worried, but I was also confident. They're gonna stand. They're not gonna fall down that quickly.
A year later, Ukraine was still fighting, but struggling to hold back the Russians in Donetsk. And there weren't enough volunteers signing up to fight. Men were being drafted off the streets and in malls.
The fact that the war got more difficult maybe over time, I had the opposite effect. I felt, I'd be okay, they need me now, so I should go.
When you told your parents you were going, what was the response?
Immediately to try to talk me out of it. But eventually they said, we understand why you're going, and they support me.
Once he arrived, he received just under a month of training. He had never spent time in the military, but had experience in remote places.
I fought forest fires for the Alberta government for 6 years. That definitely helped me here. There was a lot of, real high pressure situations. I remember the first fire, my mind went to mush. I was just full adrenaline. That experience was helpful, and I learned how to control that a little bit. I learned how to use radios, navigate with a map, and to function in sort of a military structure.
But this was entirely new terrain. The trees became a help and a hindrance. The snap of a branch could give away his location, but the forest sometimes provided the only protection from drones.
You would just stop, stand next to a tree, hide under a bush. I spent a lot of days and even weeks just outside, moving around the forest close to the front line. We're attacked by drones sometimes, but you can evade them if you have some cover.
He spent weeks sheltering in bunkers, at times pinned inside by the near constant hovering of drones. But he continued to head out on missions, often patrolling the forests for Russian positions. Sometimes he would come across soldiers' belongings.
Ooh, I got a backpack. It's 6 o'clock here.
Sometimes their bodies strewn across the forest.
There was a range of Russian fighters out there. They had some scouts, and the scouts were well trained. They could move, they knew how to move quietly, how to stay out of sight. I've seen Russians out there who had a really good gear from head to toe, like top notch. And we've run into groups of Russians who were wearing, a baseball cap and a t-shirt, and they have an old AK and a couple of grenades and very little gear.
On a few occasions, he and his team took prisoners of war.
The most common thing we heard is that from Russian prisoners is that they were just there for money. They got there not long ago. They hadn't done any real fighting.
For Rouser, he admits that his combat days are almost certainly over. Now he's waiting for paperwork and plans to head back to Canada soon. When we spoke to him, he said he would need at least one more surgery to put a plate in his head. As he waits to leave, he can't help but spend days following the turbulent political developments.
So one day it's Russia, the next week it's Ukraine.
And the whiplash of U.S. foreign policy.
I wish I could say, peace can happen tomorrow, this afternoon. I don't think it's going to, obviously. Hopefully in the next 6 months. Depends a lot on other world leaders. Like Trump is all over the place.
While many are trying to keep Ukraine front and center, it's hard.
And now what I'm asking for is a piece of ice.
Given the agenda set by Washington.
I hope the situation with Greenland gets resolved really quickly and they don't have to focus on that. But just Trump's attempt to go there and try to claim that land as his own, I think it's going to push European nations to stand up more confidently and strongly, as they can't count on the U.S. to solve the problems in Europe. They're going to have to step up and sacrifice and do it.
The past 10 months have changed the way Rouser looks at memorials. In war, he has both killed and lost close friends. He's preparing to leave the country, but plans to return. He's considering an offer from his brigade to help with training, because Ukraine needs to keep sending more soldiers to the front to replace those lost in a war that keeps grinding on. Rouser spent about 2 months in the hospital. He says he's not quite 100%. He needs time to regain his strength, but Adrian, he says he is able to function.
Briar, is it possible to get a handle on the number of Canadians fighting in Ukraine?
Well, we don't know because those numbers, those lists aren't published, but we do know that more than a dozen Canadians have been killed in Ukraine, either in combat or while serving as a paramedic or an aid worker. And we also know that in addition to Rouser, there are 2 other Canadians in Western Ukraine right now recovering from injuries.
All right, thank you for staying on top of this. That's Briar Stewart in London. Coming up, Toronto Raptors fans get an unexpected surprise.
Everyone was elated, like literally jumping, screaming, the players and all of us.
How the fans ended up at the post-game celebration. That's next in our moment. Well, those are some very lucky Toronto Raptors fans right there, celebrating with the players after the team won in Portland, Oregon a few days ago. So here's the deal. The group was invited to join the team's post-game huddle after their enthusiastic cheering just caught the attention of the players and coaches. So their Raptors revelry makes our moment.
Everyone was elated, like literally jumping, screaming, the players and all of us. Unbelievable. Never thought that that could even happen. But we have a group of 20 guys that get together where we do a Raptors road game. We were cheering quite loudly. We had our Canadian flag with us. The Raptors had noticed us during the game and they were pointing at us. Scotty Barnes stopped and acknowledged us. One of the assistant coaches approached us after the game and asked if we'd like to meet the Raptors in their huddle. Of course, we jumped on that opportunity. We didn't know that they were actually surprising the Raptors with our appearance. We were quietly waiting for about 5 minutes, and then the Raptors came in, and they were so excited, jumping up and down. with us. The highlight of that was all of us putting our hands together with Scotty Barnes leading a cheer that said family.
Family on three. 1, 2, 3.
Kind of once in a lifetime moment. Bought me some street cred with my kids back home as well.
Okay, I know these are adults, these are grown men, but they sound like very excited 8-year-olds, and I kind of love that for them. This is a diehard group of fans, right? They have been friends for a very long time. They go see an away game of the Raptors once a year for 11 years. They have earned this moment. From all of us at The National, thanks for being with us. I'm Adrienne Arsenault. Take care.